Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the Minnesota Vikings. I keep seeing Skull to the Bowl. It has such a nice ring to it. It really rolls off of the tongue. Minnesota got a huge win on Thanksgiving. That was one hell of a football game to get to 9-2. Obviously, first in the NFC North, that division is certainly theirs. But I really like the way Minnesota has been trending, obviously, in this entire season, but specifically because they got absolutely embarrassed at home just 4 days prior to that Thanksgiving victory, and now they have a little bit extra time to rest. They lost 40-3 against Dallas, right? That game against Buffalo, that was just game of the year, one of the best wins I've ever seen from the Minnesota Vikings in my, 23-year-old cheesehead fan career. You can tell they were exhausted. Now, that's not an excuse because once we get into the playoffs, everybody's going to be exhausted, right? But what I really liked was the resiliency this past week against New England. Bright lights. Like I said, you're only coming off 4 days since that game against Dallas. Only 4 days. That offense put up 33 points. Kirk Cousins had a phenomenal game. Justin Jefferson continues to be a superstar stud. TJ Hawkinson got involved. You had the Adam Thielen touchdown. It was just awesome. The offensive line did a great job at protecting Kirk. We'll talk about the run game, a little confusing in that last one, but for the most part, Dalvin Cook is still having a phenomenal season. But I want to talk about that defense because it really is the nitpick with the Minnesota Vikings so far this season. But before we get any further, guys, if you enjoy it, hit that like button, hit that sub button. If you want more Vikings content, go ahead, show some love down below. I got to get to one of these games eventually, man. I talk about it sometimes in these videos. One of my buddies used to go to the University of Minnesota, and so I've visited it. I love it in the summer. I've been there in the winter, but I still have yet to go to a game, probably because I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, but I should probably go to a Packer-Viking game at some point in my life. But let's talk about this defense, specifically in this last game, and honestly in the last couple of weeks in general. They've been extremely banged up. Now, you got to give credit where credit is due. Mac Jones and the New England Patriots, it's still a Bill Belichick coach team. They still have talent. They're still a playoff caliber good football team, all right? They came in with an offensive plan. They came in with offensive scheme, and there were several big plays. But at the end of the day, Minnesota's defensive back unit was completely banged up. In fact, their defense in general is extremely banged up, right? Za'Darius, he got injured recently. No Dalvin Thompson. You're missing 3 starting cornerbacks. They're going to give up some big plays regardless. They're the 21st ranked offense in the NFL, or defense, in the NFL. If they can just get that into the top 16, that's all you need. Honestly, they're 9-2. So they're still getting the job done. One thing I'm really liking about this defense is they're holding teams to field goals. We're going to discount that Dallas game. Every championship team in an 18-week-long season, 17-game-long season, you're going to have blow-up weeks. All right, that's just the reality of the situation. Every Super Bowl team. That's why every team, Philly lost. No team goes 17-0. No team goes 16-0. It's very few and far between. That's why they're historic and iconic. But you're going to have bad weeks. All right, so we're going to talk about Dallas maybe another day, but although I'd like to just store it in the archives and use it as a lesson, use it as an example. But this defense holds opposing offenses to field goals so often. If we go back and we watch that New England game, a lot of New England's touchdowns were from big plays due to the banged up defensive back unit, right? Is a bend don't break philosophy. And while, I remember making videos for Minnesota, making videos for the Vikings right before the trade deadline, talking about the defense, saying, yeah, man, if, I were to make a move, it would probably, on the defensive side, it would probably be the defensive back unit. All of you guys agreed with that. Maybe the defensive line unit, although I think for the most part it's extremely satisfactory. But they're making these stops. They're making these plays when they need to make plays. And to me, that's the most important part. That New England game was very hard fought. It was a very hard fought game. Both teams played really, really good, high level, elite level football. That was a playoff game the way I saw it. It's playoff atmosphere, playoff implications. I know Minnesota's 9-2, 8-2 headed into that game, but you want that first seed. You want the best seed possible, right? It's a huge advantage having home field for the entirety of the playoffs. So they're making the plays. They're getting stops when they need to get stops. Go back to the second to last possession, or even the last possession, that sack to pretty much close the game on Mac Jones. Same thing, 3rd and long, another sack. So their defense is doing its job. Offensively, now Dalvin Cook's still having a phenomenal season. He has been struggling, or just I should say the run game has been struggling in general. But if you look at Dalvin's stats on the season, he still has 841 yards. He's averaging just under 5 yards per carry. He has 6 touchdowns. I don't think anybody actually is concerned with Dalvin Cook. Offensively, Kirk, while you might not be blown away from the stat sheet, the eye test proves all, right? Trust the eyes. Sometimes stats are important. Stats are they're important, but the eyes are the most important thing, the eye test. Kirk Cousins, statistically on the season, he's a really solid rating, 88.6. He's thrown for almost 2,800 yards. It's a little over 250 a game, 65% completion rate. I think a big deal was the way he kind of dismantled that Bill Belichick defense. I know it's maybe not the prime New England Patriots, but it is still a very talented defense. Kirk on the season, 17 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. There was that interception early on in the game against New England, Thanksgiving. Got to learn from that, right? Turnovers are going to be a huge thing. I know it sounds redundant, but it really is very important. Once you get into the playoffs, it could be the difference between a Super Bowl or no Super Bowl, and especially a win or no win. So got to clean it up. The good news is we're only 11 games into the season. So we're over the halfway mark, but there's plenty of time to figure all these things out. There's plenty of times to learn from mistakes and learn from errors. And obviously, I don't need to talk about how good Justin Jefferson is, man. This guy will go down as one of the greats. He really will. He has 1,232 receptions, yards, and 81 receptions for 5 touchdowns. He's averaging over 15 yards per catch, over 112 yards per game. I mean, he's already looking better than Randy Moss. He will go down as one of the greats. But I also like, the TJ Hawkinson tight end edition at the trade deadline. I had a lot of Lions fans saying, he's got a lot of shortcomings. Well, there's probably one tight end in the NFL who doesn't have shortcomings, and that's Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce will go down as either the best or second best tight end ever, right? TJ has done more than enough so far in his brief career, just 4 games for him. But he caught his first touchdown pass. He has 26 receptions, 492 yards. It just adds another threat. Still love Adam Thielen getting the job done. KJ Osborne, I did like some of the plays, some of the catches he had in that last game. But that's really it for today. Let me know your thoughts on the Minnesota Vikings rest of the season outlook down below. And yeah, hit that like button, hit that sub button.